now's the time, because I'm not going to be as interesting and as eloquent as the other folks around here. Obviously, a bunch of people are against the war or question the war or the efforts made to go to war for different reasons, from pacifist to preemptive war, this, that, the other. I'm coming from a different angle, or we'll come from a different angle, and try to give you just a little background. Most of you know about this background already if you're interested in the anti-war effort, and that is the social structure of Iraq, what it means and what I think war will do to our, well, what war will do. But I'll stop right there. Iraq is, has three social cleavages in it, social, cultural cleavages in it. The Kurds of the north, that we've read so much about, they're about 20% of the population. Don't nail me down on the population figures exactly, because who knows. The Sunni Muslims in the center, the so-called Sunni triangle, those are the folks who rule the country. They're about 20% of the population, and then the Shia of the south, they're about 55% of the population or so. That may add up to 105%, but close enough. So let me go through just a couple of little things, starting with the Kurds of the north. The Kurds have been under the protective umbrella of the United Nations since the first war we've had there. They've had a tremendous increase in their economic well-being. Their child mortality, infant mortality rates have gone down compared to the rest of Iraq that have gone up tremendously. The Kurds have been, for most of the past century, fighting for their own independence. They are Sunni Muslims, they are not Arab. Their language is Kurdish. They have their own dress, their own culture, they have their own songs. They want their independence. Actually, the two groups in the north that now administer Iraq under the umbrella of the United Nations, they're two warring Kurdish groups. When they're not together trying to get other folks out, they're killing each other. So there's a long history of that. Talibani and, well, I won't get into it. Now these folks say they are not going to try to get their own independence once there's a change of regime. That they, in fact, have promised Washington, with some urging from Washington, that they will stay with Iraq. It seems incredulous to me that this group would then say, we will give up on 100 years of a fight for national independence simply because there's a change of regime in Iraq. I can't believe it. I cannot believe that the two groups that now administer Iraq, and they've had clashes over the last 5 or 6 years, killing each other a lot of times, that they're going to give up on this intra-communal battle. So I think we go in, there's going to be a lot of bad things happening up north. That is not even to mention that in eastern Turkey, the majority of folks are Kurds. And only 2 years ago, 3 years ago now, did the Turks put down a rebellion in eastern Turkey from the Kurds. The Turks are terrified of what's going to happen here. Let me move to the south. 55% of the population, these people have been brutalized like crazy. They are the poorest of the poor. They call themselves the forgotten people, so on and so forth. The Shia always have had this notion of themselves. The Shia have been, again, brutalized. They've been killed systematically over and over and over again. They, after the Gulf War, they rose up in rebellion and they were slaughtered by Saddam Hussein's troops. They will not forget. I cannot believe that a change of regime, especially if it's cosmetic, I can't see other than cosmetic, I'll get to that in a second, I cannot believe that the Shia of the South are going to sit and quietly go into a new reconstituted Iraq. Finally, up to the Golden Triangle, the Sunnis and Saddam Hussein and Saddam Hussein's favorite groups of people, especially within his own town, Atragedy. These folks are going to be necessarily going to be losing power. If we get in and we say we want a true change of regime, those are the folks who are running the country. They're going to have to get out of that country, all right? Or they're going to have to be somehow sidelined in a very, very forceful way. Now, here's what I see happening. This is so brief. I'm sorry I'm being so brief on this. I'm sorry I'm being so vague in some ways. I think we go in, we're going to have tremendous internal chaos in that country. And it's not going to go away for a short period of time. When we go in, the day after, we're going to have to worry about getting food supplies to these people. We're going to have to worry within 36 hours getting water to a whole bunch of people. Because sure as hell, we're going to destroy their infrastructure. That's what war is about. Cut them off at the neck. We're going to have to rebuild that infrastructure. Who's going to help us rebuild it? The folks who were in power before? No. We're going to have to help rebuild it. How about the roads? How about the mines? How about the electrical structure? How about clean water on a systematic basis? This means, to my mind, if we're going to do the job, we're in there minimum 5, probably 10 years. Like Mark Twain said about fish and visitors. Remember that? He said, visitors to your house are like fish. After about 3 days, they begin to stink. And it is my belief that's what is going to happen after some time, because there will be Americans falling in love with Iraqis, the other way around, Americans killing Iraqis, Iraqis killing Americans. You see some of this going on in Korea right now, the tensions rising from this. After a while, these folks are going to turn against us, or a bunch of them will turn against us. And we will not be looked at as liberators, if we would be when we went in. We'll be looked at as oppressors, we'll be looked at as occupiers. That is not to say anything about the wider Arab world, and with the wider Arab world will, I believe, think of us in light of this situation. It says nothing about what we're really trying to do in this country, I think, on the war on terrorism, and I think there ought to be a war on terrorism. I'm not a pacifist. That's not a boast, probably an apology. But we want to get after these Al-Qaeda guys. This is going to be a 10, 15, 20-year battle. What are we doing in Iraq? Where's the imminent danger? I don't see it. So my questioning and my opposition to this exercise is that I think it's going to be an outright disaster for the Iraqi people and certainly for the United States of America. I think there's about 10. I'll sit down. Thank you.